Alaska, with its breathtaking landscapes and remote wilderness, has long been shrouded in mystery and the unknown. Here, amidst towering mountains, icy glaciers, and dense forests, tales of inexplicable phenomena and unexplained disappearances have captured the imagination of adventurers and storytellers alike. There are many conspiracy theories about missing without a trace. Others are UFO appearances in the sky, or strange lights, and even reports of the ancient pyramid and advanced civilization. Now, despite several comments on TV, there is always doubt regarding the credibility of this more sensitive subject. Some people believe, some people don't believe. But after all, is it a big lie or a truth that hasn't been made public yet? Join us as we dig deep into unsolved mysteries linger in Alaska's remote wilderness. One of the most enduring mysteries of Alaska is the phenomenon known as the Alaska Triangle. Stretching from the vast wilderness of the interior to the rugged coastline along the Bering Sea, this triangular region has been the site of numerous baffling disappearances of aircraft, ships, and even people. Alaska has more missing person reports each year than anywhere else in the United States. In fact, it's twice the number of the national average. What's even more eerie is that this state also has the largest number of missing people who are never found again, fueling speculations about paranormal activity or natural forces beyond human understanding. The harsh and unforgiving climate of Alaska only adds to its air of mystery. With its long, dark winters and short, intense summers, the state's extreme weather conditions have confounded and challenged explorers for centuries. Tales of ghostly apparitions, wandering through blizzards, or lost travelers vanishing into the icy wilderness, serve as reminders of the formidable power of nature in this remote corner of the world. Alaska's indigenous cultures, with their deep spiritual connections to the land and its inhabitants, also contribute to its sense of mystery. Stories of shape-shifting spirits, ancient rituals, and encounters with mythical creatures are woven into the fabric of Alaska's rich oral traditions, offering glimpses into a world where the boundaries between the seen and the unseen are blurred. But amidst the mystery and the unknown, Alaska also holds secrets waiting to be discovered. And in a stunning revelation, a former U.S. official unveiled that deep underground the Alaskan wilderness may lie a ginormous black pyramid which is concealed by a top-secret government facility. Ex-counterintelligence agent Doug Muchler never intended to stumble upon the alleged spooky tomb. But in September 1989, the espionage and terrorism specialist was posted to Fort Richardson on the outskirts of Anchorage, and his life changed forever. The first thing that any agent would do is find their bearings for the area of operation, and since this was decades ago, Google wasn't around to help. As Doug pulled out his old school map, he said he noticed a whited-out enclave in the mountains which had not been filled in, and his suspicions were immediately raised. With his counterintelligence background, he knew they were hiding something. But life as an intelligence officer meant that you worked on a need-to-know basis. Doug quickly let his suspicions slide. Fast forward to 1992, and China had just set off its biggest ever underground nuclear explosion, 70 times the explosive power of the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Shock waves were reportedly felt as far as Alaska and picked up by earthquake-analyzing equipment, and a local TV news station reported on an eerie finding. They claimed a giant subterranean pyramid had shown up on the equipment. The agent recalled the news anchor reporting, "In Alaska, a pyramid was found larger than the one in Giza, eclipsing it by almost 70 feet. Its position correlated exactly with the whited-out area on the map." The next evening, the agent waited eagerly for a follow-up report that never came. Baffled at the radio silence, Doug headed down to grab a copy of the report at a local station. That station manager allegedly denied that the story was ever put out. Meanwhile, a junior reporter overheard the conversation and anxiously pulled Doug aside. "Two guys came in and took the tapes," the counterintelligence officer said she told him. which to him meant one thing: they were burying the report. A year passed with the events still whirling around Doug's mind when, in 1993, he made the pilgrimage to Fort Meade in Maryland, the home of an extensive collection of military records. The archivist at the facility noted the case and led him to where the redacted documents were situated.
I went into the second drawer, saw the Alaska folder. I took it out, didn't know what it was, and didn't know what it contained counterintelligence ed, but I brought it back and sat down.
Moments later, two conspicuous-looking guys came over and said, "You're not authorized to have that," before grabbing the papers of the cloak and dagger operation. Doug deemed that his journey to the truth had come to an end. All the while, his hunch remained. Almost 2 decades later, Doug reached out for help from Emmy Award-winning documentarian and investigative journalist Linda Moulton Howe. She became renowned for her work as a ufologist and advocate of a number of conspiracy theories which swept America. Linda picked up the phone and began calling anybody who might know something about the giant pyramid and who could substantiate Doug's wild claims. Hope was beginning to dwindle until she was contacted by an anonymous figure. In the words of Linda, she got a call from somebody on the East Coast about how there was a huge pyramid underground in Alaska, of such age that no one knows. He named it the Dark Pyramid. The man's descriptions finally offered Doug a glimmer of evidence about the elusive pyramid. Rising ominously from the stark landscape, this architectural anomaly stands as a mystery that shroud our planet. Standing approximately 2,000 feet tall, the Alaska Black Pyramid is a colossal structure constructed entirely of black granite. Its origins remain shrouded in mystery, with no definitive record of its builders or purpose. The pyramid's sheer size and remote location have made it a subject of intense speculation and intrigue. One of the most striking aspects of the Alaska Black Pyramid is its location. Situated in a remote region of Alaska, far from any major population centers, accessing the site presents a considerable challenge. The harsh climate and treacherous terrain deter all but the most determined explorers from venturing near its vicinity. The pyramid's construction defies conventional explanations. The precision with which the massive granite blocks are assembled suggests a level of craftsmanship beyond the capabilities of ancient civilizations. Some theories posit that the pyramid may be the work of an advanced, prehistoric civilization that once inhabited the region. Others speculate that it could be the product of extraterrestrial intervention, citing its otherworldly appearance and enigmatic origins. Adding to the mystique of the Alaska Black Pyramid are the various legends and myths that surround it. Local indigenous tribes have passed down tales of the pyramid for generations, often imbuing it with supernatural significance. Some believe that the structure holds mystical powers or serves as a portal to other dimensions. Others warn of ancient curses that befall those who dare to disturb its slumber. Despite numerous expeditions and investigations, the secrets of the Alaska Black Pyramid remain elusive. Conspiracy theorists and amateur sleuths scour satellite imagery and analyze obscure texts in search of clues that might unlock the pyramid's mysterious origin. But the allure of the Alaska Black Pyramid extends beyond its enigmatic origins. Pyramids have fascinated humanity for millennia, not just because of their architectural grandeur, but also due to the enigmatic aura surrounding their alleged mystical powers. One of the most intriguing theories about pyramids involves their purported ability to harness and manipulate electromagnetic energy. The concept stems from the geometric properties of pyramids, particularly the Great Pyramid of Giza, which has a precise and mathematically significant design. It's believed that the shape of the pyramid, with its sloping sides meeting at a point, creates a natural geometric resonator. This resonator is said to amplify and focus electromagnetic energy, much like an antenna or a lens concentrates light. Proponents of this theory suggest that ancient civilizations, with their advanced understanding of geometry and natural energies, intentionally constructed pyramids as energy-gathering structures. They believe that pyramids were strategically placed at specific locations on the Earth's energetic grid to tap into and channel the planet's natural electromagnetic fields. Furthermore, some researchers claim that the internal structure of pyramids, particularly the chambers and passageways within, may have been designed to enhance the concentration and flow of electromagnetic energy. Certain measurements and proportions found within the Great Pyramid, such as the King's Chamber and its relationship to the Earth's dimensions, are often cited as evidence of this deliberate design. Moreover, anecdotal accounts and experimental studies have suggested that pyramids possess unique properties that affect electromagnetic fields. For instance, individuals have reported experiencing unusual sensations or heightened states of consciousness when inside or near pyramid structures. Some experiments have shown that placing objects inside a pyramid-shaped enclosure can have effects such as preserving food, sharpening blades, or even promoting healing. The final, most serious claim to the proposition of pyramid power is Ukrainian physicist Dr. Volodymyr Krasnoholovets. Dr. Krasnoholovets was a theoretical physicist and senior scientist for over 20 years at the Institute of Physics in Ukraine. This institute was the premier military research institution of the former Soviet Union, and Dr. Krasnoholovets helped develop instrumentation and new research technology. Dr. Krasnoholovets' specialty is condensed matter physics. However, the foundations of physics are also in the area of his interests. In this line of research, combining knowledge of condensed matter with the main regulations of quantum physics, he has constructed submicroscopic quantum mechanics developed in the real space. The theory constructed considers the real space as a tessellation of primordial cells, or balls, or superparticles, which are elementary blocks of nature. Whether one feels the need to consider Dr. Krasnoholovets a genius or a mad scientist, his findings coincide with ancient theological traditions and claims of the pyramids within the cultures from which they were constructed, as well as the consistent stream of research into pyramid power, or more aptly, pyramid physics. His theories also speak loudly for the possibility that the Dark Pyramid could have been picked up by the White Alice communication systems in Alaska, and that, as lore would have it, the pyramid itself conducts and transmits enough electromagnetic energy to theoretically power the entire country of Canada, or even more depending on who one asks. Could it be that pyramids were constructed by ancient man in order to conduct more electromagnetic energy on a global scale, perhaps even in order to benefit their personal, cognitive, and spiritual capabilities? It sounds far-fetched, but it also sounds far-fetched to have hundreds of pyramids located all across the ancient Earth. If they are conducting this electromagnetic energy, what connection does that have with human consciousness? If it has a connection to human consciousness, then why is there public secrecy? What could their use be in today's society? In the end, one must focus on the issues at hand and not let wonder and speculation pull the attention from what is truly important. Regardless, this information poses many questions that demand to be asked. How could there be similar ancient pyramids all across the globe from separate and isolated cultures? Why would those that have been discovered outside of Egypt and Alaska not been widely recognized? There seems to be something there, and it undoubtedly involves the military dating back to the Cold War. In this politically driven society, so full of corruption and secrecy, one must ask themselves if they believe their government is capable of worldwide deception, capable of creating an entire backstory to cover a massive truth dating back to the beginning of man. In addition, don't forget that according to the National UFO Reporting Center, since 1998, there have been over 560 reported UFOs in Alaska, with a majority of sightings in the Alaska Triangle. Large alien base. In his 1997 book, Remote Viewers, Jim Schnabel told the story of the U.S. intelligence community's involvement in the controversial issue of psychic spying that largely began in the early to mid-1970s. Commenting on the skills of a talented remote viewer in relation to matters of a UFO nature, one Pat Price, Schnabel noted Price was of the opinion that, Alaska's Mount Hayes, the jewel of a glacial range northeast of Anchorage, housed one of the aliens' largest bases. According to Pat Price, the aliens that lived deep inside Mount Hayes were very human-looking, differing only in their heart, lungs, blood, and eyes. Ominously, he added that the aliens use thought transfer for motor control of us. Price added, "The site has also been responsible for strange activity and malfunction of U.S. and Soviet space objects." Rather notably, despite the controversial nature of this story, we find that the U.S. military took a great deal of interest in tales of UFO activity in Alaska in the formative years of the subject. For example, formerly classified FBI files tell of startling UFO encounters in Alaska in the period between 1947 to 1950. It was in August 1947 that a highly impressive account of a UFO incident involving two serving members of the military was supplied to the FBI at Anchorage. The report began, "This is to advise that two Army officers reported to the Office of the Director of Intelligence Headquarters Alaskan Department at Fort Richardson, Alaska, that they had witnessed an object passing through the air at a tremendous rate of speed which could not be judged as to miles per hour." According to the official report, the UFO was initially sighted by only one of the two officers, but he soon alerted his colleague to the strange sight. The object appeared to be shaped like a sphere and did not give the impression of being saucer-like or comparable to a disc. The first officer stated that it would be impossible to give minute details concerning the object, but that it appeared to be approximately 2 or 3 feet in diameter and did not leave any vapor trail in the sky. Being the experienced officer that he was, in his first attempt to gauge the altitude of the object, and from a comparison with cloud formations in the area, he determined that whatever the nature of the mystery sphere, it was cruising at a height of more than 10,000 feet. And it should be noted that to be at such a height and still be visible, in all probability, the UFO must have exceeded by a wide margin the initial size estimate of 2 or 3 feet. When questioned, the second officer gave a substantially similar account, the only marked difference being that, in his opinion, he considered the object to have been approximately 10 feet in diameter, and compared it to half the size of a full moon on an ordinary night. This discrepancy in size was apparently due to the fact that the second officer believed the UFO was more likely to have been at a height of 3,000 to 4,000 feet, rather than at an altitude of 10,000 feet as had been suggested by his colleague. The difference of opinion over the altitude and size of the object may or may not have been significant. The important factor, however, was that both officers agreed that some type of anomalous object had most definitely been seen. And as the report concluded, the second officer pointed out that one of the remarkable features of this report was that it was definitely traveling against the wind. Shortly afterward, the FBI office at Anchorage reported to Bureau Director J. Edgar Hoover that, "We have been able to locate a flyer who observed some flying object near Bethel, Alaska in July 1947. The report to Hoover continued. The pilot related that the occasion of seeing the flying object near Bethel was on a July day when the sky was completely clear of clouds, and it being during the early part, it is daylight the entire night. The time of his sighting of this flying object was about 10 p.m., and the sun had just dropped beyond the horizon. Flying weather was extremely good, and he was coming into the Bethel airport with a DC-3. On approaching the airport, the pilot was amazed to see to his left an unidentified craft the size of a C-54 without any fuselage, which seemed to resemble a flying wing. As a result of its unique shape, the pilot was initially unable to determine whether the object was heading towards his aircraft or away from it, and elected to make a 45-degree turn in an attempt to defuse any possible chance of collision. The FBI noted that the pilot was certain that the craft was free of any external power source, such as a propeller-driven engine, and exhibited no exhaust as it flew by. The document added, he called on his radio to the Civil Aeronautics Administration station at Bethel, asking what aircraft was in the vicinity, and they had no reports of any aircraft. The object he cited was some 5 or 10 miles from the airport before his arrival, and he stated that the path did not go directly across the airport. He, of course, could not tell whether the object was making any noise, and stated that it was flying at 1,000-foot altitude and estimated travel at 300 miles per hour. It was traveling in the direction from Bethel to Nome, which is in a northwesterly direction. He noted no radio interference and is unable to describe the color other than it appeared dark but of definite shape, and did not blend into the sky, but had a definite, concise outline. He clearly observed the object at this time. As the 1940s drew to a close and a new decade dawned, the FBI continued to receive and log high-quality UFO reports on a regular basis. Of those, one of the more credible related to a noteworthy series of encounters that occurred in Alaskan airspace over the course of 2 days in early 1950. Forwarded to the FBI by an official U.S. Navy source, the confidential 3-page intelligence report paints a startling picture of multiple UFO encounters involving the military. Titled, Unidentified Phenomena in Vicinity of Kodiak, Alaska, it concerns a report of sightings of unidentified airborne objects by various naval personnel on 22 and 23 January 1950. The author of the report noted, at 222240W, January, Lieutenant Smith, USN, Patrol Plane Commander of P2V3 No. 4 of Patrol Squadron 1, reported an unidentified radar contact 20 miles north of the Naval Air Station, Kodiak, Alaska. When this contact was first made, Lieutenant Smith was flying the Kodiak Security Patrol. At 0243W, 8 minutes later, a radar contact was made on an object 10 miles southeast of Nass, Kodiak. Lieutenant Smith checked with the control tower to determine known traffic in the area and was informed that there was none. During this period, the radar operator, Gasky, ALC, USN, reported intermittent radar interference of a type never before experienced. Contact was lost at this time, but intermittent interference continued. Smith and Gasky were not the only two to report that unidentified vehicles had intruded into Alaskan airspace. At the time of these encounters, the USS Tilbrook was anchored in the vicinity of Buoy 19 in the nearby main ship channel. On board, the Tilbrook was a seaman named Morgan, first name unknown, who was standing watch. At some point between 2E and 3:00 a.m., Morgan reported that a very fast-moving red light, which appeared to be of exhaust nature, seemed to come from the southeast, moved clockwise in a large circle in the direction of and around Kodiak, and returned out in a generally southeast direction. Perhaps not quite believing what he was seeing, Morgan alerted one of his shipmates, Carver, to the strange spectacle, and both watched as the UFO made a return flight. According to the testimony of Morgan and Carver, the object was in sight for an estimated 30 seconds. No odor or sound was detected, and the object was described to have the appearance of a ball of fire about 1 foot in diameter. The report then records yet another encounter with the mystery visitor. At 2204-4W, conducting routine, Kodiak Security Patrol, Lieutenant Smith reported a visual sighting of an unidentified airborne object at a range of 5 miles on the starboard bow. This object showed indications of great speed on the radar scope. The trailing edge of the blip gave a tail-like indication. Lieutenant Smith quickly advised the rest of the crew of the PV-23 No. 24 that the UFO was in sight, and all watched fascinated as the strange vehicle soared overhead at a speed estimated to have been around 1,800 miles per hour. Smith climbed to intercept the UFO and vainly tried to circle it. Needless to say, its high speed and remarkable maneuverability ensured that Smith's actions were futile. However, neither Lieutenant Smith nor his crew was quite prepared for what happened next. Subsequently, the object seemed to be opening the range, the official report reads, and Smith attempted to close the range. The UFO was observed to open out somewhat, then to turn to the left and come up on Smith's quarter. Smith considered this to be a highly threatening gesture and turned out all lights in the aircraft. 4 minutes later, the object disappeared from view in a southeasterly direction. At 04:35 hours on the following day, Lieutenants Barco and Causer of Patrol Squadron 1 were conducting the Kodiak Security Patrol when they too sighted an unidentified aerial vehicle. At the time of their encounter, the aircraft in which the officers were flying was approximately 62 miles south of Kodiak. For 10 minutes, Barco and Causer, along with the pilot, Captain Paulson, watched stunned as the mysterious object twisted and turned in the Alaskan sky. An assessment of these reports read thus: 1. To Lottie Smith and crew, it appeared as two orange lights rotating about a common center, like two jet aircraft making slow rolls in tight formation. It had a wide speed range. 2. To Morgan and Carver, it appeared as a reddish-orange ball of fire about 1 foot in diameter, traveling at a high rate of speed. 3. To Causer, Barco, and Paulson, it appeared to be a pulsating orange-yellow projectile-shaped flame, with regular periods of pulsation on 3 to 5 seconds. Later, as the object increased the range, the pulsations appeared to increase to on 7 or 8 seconds and off 7 to 8 seconds. The final comment on the encounters reads, in view of the fact that no weather balloons were known to have been released within a reasonable time before the sightings, it appears that the object or objects were not balloons. If not balloons, the objects must be regarded as phenomena, possibly meteorites, the exact nature of which could not be determined by this office. The meteorite theory for this series of encounters is particularly puzzling. It goes without saying that meteorites do not stay in sight for an estimated 30 seconds. Meteorites do. Not close in on military aircraft in what is deemed to be a highly threatening gesture, and they do not appear as two orange lights rotating about a common center. In other words, it seems safe to conclude that genuinely anomalous phenomena were indeed witnessed by experienced military personnel at Kodiak, Alaska, in January 1950. Does any of this prove that there really is an alien base deep within Alaska's Mount Hayes, as Pat Price suggested? No, of course not. But in view of all the above, perhaps it's time someone took a closer look at Price's claims. You know, just in case. In addition, with huge amounts of forests and uncharted wilderness, Alaska is certainly a perfect location for Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch, to hide out. There are numerous reports of Bigfoot sightings throughout the entire state. Some reports include evidence of nesting sites, a possible Bigfoot skeleton, and unidentified hair samples. Some witnesses have even reported seeing a swimming Sasquatch during their encounters. Some villages have even relocated as a result of terrifying encounters with Bigfoot, which is surprising because the common understanding is that the creature prefers isolated areas and is in general quite peaceful. Peterson. There were stories told from 1900 to 1925 about a trapper that went into the woods and disappeared shortly after reporting exceptionally large tracks in the snow. The Strangest Story Ever Told, by Virginia Culp, documents this incredibly eerie encounter in further detail. Ruby. In 1943, it was reported that a man was attacked by an unknown creature in the wilderness about 18 miles down the Yukon from the town of Ruby. He later died of internal injuries, and the creature that attacked him, presumably Bigfoot, was said to be run off by his dog team. Bristol Bay. In 1940, near the town of Kaluka, A group of ladies was berry picking when they reportedly came upon a large man-like creature with long hair running down his back. They later went on to capture this creature, cage it, and feed it. It later died, and the story was documented in a letter from the cage keeper. Ketchikan. This southeast town holds some pretty wild tales of the past. In 1956, about 50 miles southwest of Ketchikan, a man that was out fishing reported seeing an 8-foot-tall creature that was around 400 pounds and walked on 2 feet, like an ape. There was also a young boy that reported a similar sighting nearby in 1960 and reacted to the encounter by screaming and running off as fast as possible. Port Chatham. Also known as Portlock, this eerie small village on the Kenai Peninsula was home to so many Bigfoot sightings that the entire population eventually fled due to an overwhelming amount of fear. For a period of time during the 1900s, torn-up bodies were washing up on the shores of this small village, making the people believe that it had to be the evil Sasquatch spirits that roamed the woods nearby. Wrangell. Multiple Bigfoot sightings occurred in this area during the early 1900s. One includes a man that was berry picking in the woods and was awakened by the sounds of a massive man-like creature having a conversation nearby. Another story in this area is about a tall Bigfoot creature that actually ended up carrying a 3-year-old back to her home after she wandered off into the woods without anyone noticing her. If Bigfoot is as confrontational as people in Alaska claim it to be, it's a possibility that this creature is perhaps the reason why some people go missing, especially in the wilderness if they come face to face with it. That's all the information that we have for you today. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell so you never miss out on future episodes. And be sure to also tell us what you think about today's content. Everyone's support motivates us to continue delivering quality content and to always improve. As always, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.